Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday morning for those of you who are going to catch us live. I know a lot of people love watching our replay. We're going to wait a few minutes as this gets going up officially on LinkedIn. And I have a really special guest with me today for our 6th installment of Lessons from the Leaderboard to Leadership. And I will give her a phenomenal introduction here as we go. So it looks like we're officially live, so this is good. So today, I have Amanda Arndt with me, and full disclosure, Amanda is actually a client of mine, and not everyone that's on these interviews and these episodes with me is a client, but I know her really well. So if we start talking and we start saying some inside lingo, I'm going to try to catch ourselves because we can tend to do that. But this is for any aspiring or emerging sales leaders who really want to hear from other honest sales leaders about their journey. Sometimes when we look at all these accolades of successful sales leaders, we go, well, it must be easy for them. I'm not them. And let me give you a few of Amanda's accolades here before we actually start. And I know she hates this part. She absolutely hates this part. I'll actually tell you why she hates it before I give you her numbers. So I asked her for some of this information. She goes, ugh. But it's funny because when high performers, when really successful people talk about their previous successes, they're proud of it, but it actually doesn't mean anything to them because where they're heading is so much better than what they've actually accomplished. And that's how Amanda feels about this. So, but I want to actually explain this. So Amanda sells insurance. She actually owns her own insurance agency. She was recently promoted. And the policies that they sell, so before I give you these numbers, they're like $50 a month, $100 a month. She can kind of give you the background of why people buy that, but they're inexpensive policies to help supplement insurance. And she did in her first year, she personally, in 1 week, her best week, she sold $63,000 of those policies for the first year's premium. Her best month in sales was $104,000 in revenue. She started in July of 2019. And by December of 2019 was the number 6 agent in the entire nation at her billion-dollar insurance company. She was number 6 and only had half the year to sell. So I want that to kind of sink in. She broke the record for the quickest start in the company. They do a thing called Quick Start your first 13 weeks, and that had been set for 30 years. So she broke a 30-year record. And the reason I'm sharing this is for all those top performers who are making the switch to management. I'm going to ask Amanda, well, if you were so good at sales, what made you want to get into leadership? Because it's a different skill set. It's a whole new learning curve. And she's got the number 5 company record for top performance in a first year. And that is when COVID struck and kind of shut their business down. So without actually getting a full year to sell, she did that. And her first 6 months in the business, she found personal success. So then she started building her own sales team, and they ended the year just shy of $1 million in premium. Year 2, they went to $3.2 million. This is really fun. I love this. 80% of sales leaders are men. Most of my clients are men just due to that fact. But she is the first female agency owner in over a decade and only the second woman to achieve this title. So she's at the very tippy top. You can't get any higher than that. So with that, I want to share that to get you in the right frame of mind of who you're going to be hearing from. So with that long introduction, but very fun. I actually got goosebumps, Amanda. I'm so stinking proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome. And thank you so much for taking some time today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to help.
It's awesome. Okay. So first of all, can you explain just real quickly, can you give everyone a brief, what the policies you sell? We're going to talk about, you're not focused on sales all the time. I know but you're interviewing and you're recruiting actively for this role. Can you just give a quick blurb so people can kind of understand?
Yeah. So all of our policies, what I love about them is, one, you have to believe in what you sell. So that's absolutely so important. I believe in what we do. I feel like this is how insurance, supplemental insurance should be. And all of our policies are accident, cancer, ICU. It's for the big financial hitters, the ones that bankrupt families, especially our middle class generation. And that's what this is in place. And what I love about all of our policies is that they have a return of premium on top of it.
Which means what? What is the
Which
return of
means
premium?
that after, depending on your state, where you're at, for North Dakota, it's 25 years, you receive all of your premiums that you've ever paid, minus any claims paid. So it's fantastic. It acts and feels like an investment into your family, into your future, instead of just lighting that monthly premium on fire.
Yep, which is a really fun perk. And full disclosure, I used to work in Amanda's company. I retired 8 years ago. I have these policies, and we're coming up. I started in 2005, so we're coming up on.
Yeah.
I'm about to get some money back. Yeah, in
You're
a couple
about to
more
get your
years.
return of premium, and you had the best of the best coverage the entire time.
I know.
This is why I sell. This is why I protect families. Yes.
It's really good. It's really good. Okay. So with that, so Amanda, as I just kind of alluded to this first question, I'd love for you to talk about, but this is something that people really deal with. Like, okay, I'm successful at sales, or I feel comfortable in sales. Do I want to become a sales leader? So, and you've had a ton of success. So, what made you want to become a sales leader when you were so successful already in sales?
Yeah. So I've always been a leader, though, with my military background, with everything. I was Navy, go Navy. And just where walks of life have taken me. It's so funny when this position came into play, it was like the whole time, all of my previous careers had been lining up to just a smooth transition. But the biggest thing for me is that I wanted to change lives, not just only my clients' lives, but also my agents, to have a have more in-depth part. Like, I don't want to be just a stream. I want to be the ocean, right? Like, I want to create and help touch people's lives for the better. And I saw what it was doing for my career, and I thought, why can't I help other agents do this with theirs? And one of the biggest things, and full disclosure here, I was going for the #1 record in sales ever for Family Heritage. COVID happened in the middle of that, and I had to pivot. And I had to think, well, if I can't break records here, how else can I break records? And that's when I decided, let's team build. Let's see what we've got. And I have never looked back, and it's the best decision.
Yeah, I love that. The stream versus the ocean type of thing. And something that I speak to my corporate clients about quite often is, empowered sales leaders. When you do a great job as a salesperson, and you should believe in the products you sell, when you sell that to your customer, you make an impact on them. That's what the great thing about sales is you are like helping your customers. But when you're a sales leader, your impact goes from helping your customers to helping all of your salespeople's customers.
Correct.
To going to the level where you also manage leaders now. You're not just managing salespeople, but you're a leader of leaders.
Correct.
Yeah.
Every leader that we have currently, outside of myself, we have on our leadership, we're about to have our leadership team retreat, and we have 18 people coming to that. And if you think of, and what's really cool is it's 18 women. And thinking about that is like, that just gave me goosebumps, that they have a voice, and I'm helping them not create, but establish and make that voice stronger. And that is everything and more. And giving that opportunity to them of where, the world is their oyster. In some cases where they didn't think that this was available, and it is available, and having that impact on people's lives, how can you not say no?
Yeah, that's amazing. It was just you a few short years ago, and now you've got 18 leaders. And then how many people are in your organization total?
Total currently right now, we have 43.
43. Okay. So you manage a team of managers who manage 43 agents in your organization. So this isn't like, Yeah, this isn't a small office kind of operation. This is a Midwest, I know nationwide. You've got people all over the country, which is
Yeah, we're currently in 13 states. And right now we were just looking at all of our office locations and branches, and we're at 7 and we're about to put in 8.
that's awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
That's growth. That's definitely growth. So
Yes.
let's talk some juicy negative stuff. This is what people actually really want to hear. So what
Yeah.
were the most challenging parts of that you had to give up in sales as you went to sales leadership? Because there is a gotta stop doing this, gotta do something else.
Yeah. The most challenging part for me, and I'm totally transparent here, was my own ego of letting go of my own personal sales, and being able to give those and help my agents coming on board. Because if you're going to build an agency, if you're going to build that foundation, my view is, that selfless leader, that servant leader. That's where I come in, and so trying to figure out how to do that, my ego took a 1-2 punch really quick. But seeing their success and seeing what they were creating helped build it back up again for sure. But that truly was letting go of my own personal numbers, not team, personal numbers, was one of the biggest. Another thing that was huge was time management. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about our agents. It was about what works best for their schedule, and understanding that I was being inconvenienced and that was okay for the future long-term vision. I think as leaders, you have to understand that you are going to be inconvenienced, and it's not about you anymore. It is about what you're creating and about you, but as a leader, boots on the ground, military mindset again is that, if I'm not in the field, if I'm not working with them one-on-one and actually showing them how to do this, not just talking from Zoom in my home, right? But actually with them in person. And then on top of them, giving them that sale. That's what created our agency. And that's why I know we're as successful as we are. It's building the agent internally, and they can't help but build the agency externally, because you've built them so strong.
Yep. There's so many nuggets you just said. I want to go down
Sorry.
14 different tirades here with you. But yeah, there's the transition. So what I speak to in our Leaderboard to Leadership courses is the mindset shift. And you talked about a few of them. Like you have to go from it's about my sales and like the pride, those dopamine shots, like the recognition walking in of I'm a great sales leader, to it's about my team now. And then the inconvenience thing, that's really hard, especially for top producers, where you go, you may or may not have asked those questions. You're like, doesn't everybody know this?
Right.
But you have
All
to
the time.
really put your patient pants on.
Oh, totally.
And yeah.
Where
And help.
and that's so true. Like your patient pants. Like I constantly catch myself like, are you kidding me? You don't understand that. But that's where I have to put the face on of like, yep, and this is why, and break that down. I always teach my team, like, listen, there's never a stupid question, because I never want to create the leadership style where they feel like they can't come to me with something. And that is so important. Listen, you guys, as a leader, you better believe I've heard some creative questions. That's how I'm going to label that, creative questions that come, and I have to process it. But I also have to understand, like, hey, they're not talking from my shoes. I need to put myself in their place and in their shoes and see how this is coming, why they're formatting this question. And that has been just a really big thing of, self-reflection. Rebecca does a really great job on me with that, of self-reflection, which has been a huge help. So thanks there.
You're welcome. Yeah. Being self-aware. It's a mind game. It's a total mind game. Yeah. And it's, it's very interesting. You were just talking about, it's called cognitive empathy, where you're not just how they're feeling. Some leaders are very good just emotionally being empathetic, but you were just talking about cognitive empathy, like putting yourself in their shoes. Why would they think that? And I will say, and you've got a very smart team. I know we do like coaching, but you do get really interesting questions. And the thing to remember for leaders, if you get the same questions all the time for people, you're like, I'm not covering this with them,
Yes.
or it's not being covered in training or something.
Yes.
So those are very good tools and insight. And then being like, okay, I didn't know that at one point. You got to remember what it felt like, which I think you do a really good job of.
Thank you. Or if they're asking it over again and again, there's a plateau somewhere happening. And that's where we in sales love to climb that rocket. And so when I hear that, I see that constantly re-examining why is this happening and how we can immediately start to fix that.
Mm-hmm. Another thing you said that I actually would love to talk about, and it's an interesting thing. So when we're working with sales leaders, we're very cognizant of teaching them how to be good coaches. You just made a reference to working with them in the field, showing them.
Yes.
And one of the best things that sales leaders can do is sit in, if you're an SDR and you're at your computer screen, like sitting in and watching, like sitting next to them in the cubicle. If you do outside sales like you do, riding with them, coaching on the spot, and also doing run-throughs, like role playing, so they don't make the mistakes with the customer, they make it with you and you can coach. What do you think? Because I know you are in the field a lot with your agents and with your sales leaders. Can you speak to the difference you think that's made? Because not every sales leader does that.
Yeah, it's night and day difference. If you're not doing it, what are you doing, leaders? Get your butts up and moving. Like for real, that truly is, if you're going to be a leader, you have to show them what is happening. You have to actually be in the field. That's how you earn your leadership skills. That's why people, like when I think of my lieutenants, when I think of people that I want to follow, it's because they had linked arms with me, not because they were sitting from an office telling me what to do. When you have the leadership, you have their blood, you have their sweat, you have their tears, you have everything. Like they are so loyal because you've earned it. You weren't put into a place of leadership. And that's the difference for us and our crew of the leadership that we want to build. I was in the field yesterday all day. I was in the field the day before all day. And yes, it is inconvenience, but the age of our agency, where we're at, how we're doing it, it's what it needs. It's what it needs to be taken to be done. Like, we've got to get this done. And then here's the best part about this is that my leaders seeing me do this, not only with themselves, but with their own agents. And guess what? They're going to do the exact same thing because that's how they've been brought up, how they've been trained. And it is a good thing it's a great thing to be a part of.
Yep. We say in sales, that someone, like how you teach them and how you train them is how they're going to do it. Same thing as you train your sales leaders. How they see it done is how they will do it. And they may not do it as well as you, right? Like, or as well as any other leader. You're usually the leader for a reason. So it's not about, are they doing it as well as me, but can they replicate? Can I show them how to replicate the things that matter? And then where they're falling short, as we all do, that's why we all have coaches, right? Like,
right.
And you can coach them, you can coach them. Yeah.
I constantly have to raise my lid. That's why I have coaches in you. I have coaches, I read constantly. I'm trying always to better myself because if your team, if your leaders are no longer coming to you, then they've lost their trust in you. They've lost their, why is she leading me? Why is this happening? And you've never arrived. And that's the thing that I realized too, is like, I don't ever want to arrive. I want to continue to grow, continue to be better, to continue to create, because that raises my lid. That raises that leadership level. And I'm setting the bar for myself and my agents, and talent attracts talent.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You can't out recruit yourself. You typically don't do that. No. So that's a sidebar, Amanda. And I think this actually be important. And that's so good. You're giving me so many good nuggets. I had like some questions I was going to ask, and now we're going on tangents. But this is important. So most high performers have a coach. And this is not my plug, but I want you to share, because you don't just have a coach in me. You have mentors. You have like mastermind groups, you have purposeful, like other leaders you get around. Can you just share like a little bit of that, of like, because I think that's really important. People are like, how do I do this? Well, you're not going to do it alone. You definitely won't have this. You'll have eventual success, but you won't get there as fast unless you're surrounding yourself with good people. So can you talk about this? Because I know you searched coaches, you search mentors, you search your crew.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my business coach, Rebecca. Ting ting. Then I have 3 mentors that are actually in the business. So I have my mentor that I've had since I started. I have a new mentor that is leading the team. And before I even took the promotion, I put these parameters in place, these guardrails, because I wanted to be successful. I knew I needed this. And then I have a mentor in corporate world so that there's different things. And I'm so careful of who I let speak over the top of my business. I'll listen to everyone, but if I take your advice, I process it, I think about it. And before I actually will implement it I'm not just going to take it on a grain of salt. So that's really important to know. I have business groups that I'm a part of. I have leadership teams that I'm a part of. And for my own mental health well-being, which is really important with being military, prior military, everything, I also have a fantastic therapist for mental health, for just everything that it's a lot, with everything that's going on. We have almost a team of 50. I'm a mom. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister. And so it's just really important to always check in with my mental health as well. And that's why I can continue to move the way that I move and grow the way that we grow.
Yep. And it makes a difference. So, I had my old mentor would always talk about these coaches that she had, right? Like her energy coach and her her therapist. It was like all this stuff. And I was like, well, what I thought, 15 years ago, is like, well, it must be nice. You can afford all of that. But the reason she could afford it was because she had it.
Yes.
She moved faster, was a better human being. Better human beings make better leaders grow better teams, right? It's like this. We sometimes have that backwards.
Correct. And it's an investment. And it's not just an investment into yourself, it's an investment into your business. And there's always that saying, you got to spend a little money to make some money. Like, spend the money to make some money. Spend to better yourself.
Yep. You definitely should. It definitely pays off. What do you love the most about being a sales leader?
Gosh, immediately, it's just having that influence with my leaders, with my agents, watching their success, watching what they're doing, watching what they're creating for themselves and their families. That gives me joy every single time. We have a couple of 20, 22, 23, 24-year-olds, and they're having the opportunity, if they continue where they're at and how they're growing, that they have the opportunity to retire at the age of 35. And that's no joke. It's at a loss for words at times of what we're creating and the people that we are doing it with. They're such the best, the hardest working, the best agents, their moral values and their moral compass is everything and more. And just being a part of that, how can you not be thrilled and excited and immediately come to mind just watching them create their own agencies?
Yeah, no, I knew that's what you enjoyed the most about being a leader. Because you don't actually say it like that all the time, but I can see that oozing through. And if you guys are wondering, is Amanda always like this? She's always like this. Like, you cannot fake the conviction and the passion and the mindset. You can't fake it. Like, this is how she is all the time. It's not just, on this type of thing.
No, I hate these things.
I know you kind of.
I feel like I'm completely off my game right now. Like, I'm like, God, I hate these. I hate these things.
But it's live too, and it's going to live in perpetuity on LinkedIn, and it's going to be out there in the universe. Yeah. You're doing great. You're doing great. One last question I want to ask that I thought of as we were talking, but you had mentioned your 18 sales leaders who are going to go on a retreat.
Yeah.
And I think what's been different about you and the reason that you've scaled is you've not just worked on yourself and your leadership, but you've always believed that you scale a sales organization through sales leaders. You don't
Yes.
scale it through recruiting a ton of people and doing sales training. I don't want you to give all your secrets away because I know this is kind of at a competitive advantage of yours as well, but can you speak to that? Because this is a huge thing. You're operating a very large organization. That's doing millions of dollars a year.
Mm-hmm.
That they're going to keep. This is insurance. You don't just make a sale once. People always pay these premiums, right? Like there's
Correct.
multiple millions of dollars of revenue you're creating. But can you speak to that on your focus of developing your leaders? Because you put together training manuals for them like way back in the day. I know we worked
Yeah.
on together. You were very much aware of like this. So can you just comment on that?
Yeah. Once again, it comes back to military. I need something in front of me. I need like tangible. I need to hold it. I need to highlight it. You guys should see like my bedside table is covered in books, things. I have like papers that I'll have like an aha moment and scribble it down. And the biggest thing for me is that, through different leadership roles that I've had, I've always craved that. I've always had amazing mentors, like incredible mentors, either placed in my life or me placing them in my life. So that's been a thing, but I needed something so that if I'm not there, can they pick up something to look at, to read, to show them where to go, how to make this happen? And it's not just, it needs to be specialized to our world. And that's the big thing is like, I can give anybody a leadership book. There's brilliant leadership books out there, right? But is it directly to your business? So I knew that was one thing that and it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. But that's the biggest thing is that creating that for my organization, and also hear me loud and clear. I started it, but now my leaders have input into it. So it's not just Amanda is saying this, it is the Arndt agency and our leaders that are creating this together. And man, is it good stuff. And that's what's so fun about it is that, I think that if you're hiring people that are just like you're going to plateau. I need to hear from all walks of lives. I need to hear from do I agree? Here's another thing that you guys all need to know too. I don't agree all the time with and like, it's a hard thing. And that's one thing that I've really had to work on and I have to process. And my hamster is constantly on its wheel because I'm like, I cannot believe the blah, blah, blah that just got said. But putting myself once again in their shoes and then seeing it from their light, guess what? Other people think like them as well. And that's speaking to their style of leadership. It's speaking to them. And so something that doesn't have an aha moment for me will be an aha moment for someone else.
Yep. Okay, two brilliant things you just said, Amanda, that I don't know. I was like looking for this book. If people have not read Great at Work, you need to read Great at Work. What you just said was you don't always agree. That's not a bad thing. So the top performing teams have vigorous debates and you flush out because not every idea is a good idea. And you have a lot of good ideas. I know you're Colby. You're always like the great idea girl. So that's one of your strengths. But not every good idea Amanda has, these inspirations she writes on her bedside are good ideas. You know what I mean? But you need to have vigorous debate to have that. So that's big. The other thing you said, which was not a small thing, you guys, if you go back, I'm going to go back and listen to this. I'm going to have LinkedIn posts, Amanda. I'm going to have social media posts from every one of these nuggets for the next year and a half. Like I just have to use this. You were talking about you get input from your sales leaders into their manual. Whenever you are rolling out a program for your salespeople, or you're trying to create something to help someone, get input from the people who are affected by that. People won't always listen to your ideas, but they listen to theirs. And if they have ownership in the process, they will do the process. So many times sales leaders create this big thing and then they try to pitch it and they're selling it and you create way more work for yourself. And I know you started that. but getting input and then being like, that's really great. Here's where we're going to put it in. They feel like they're part of it. And that is not a small point at all.
Well, and that's even brings back to your first question, or maybe it was your second, of like, what is the hard part? So, what's the not so fun? And that was a huge ego. Like, take a look at your ego, Amanda, right now, and it's not worth it. And that's why I bring so many other people into my agency that I believe in, that I want them to help, because even if they don't hear it from me, they're still hearing it, even though I've said it 20 times. And then they're like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, can you believe what Rebecca just said? Can you believe it? So, and I'm like, I've been telling you that for the last 6 months. And I had to take my ego out of that and be like, yeah, it's a great point, isn't it? Because they heard it.
Yeah.
They heard it. They heard
Yeah.
what I've been trying to tell them. And that's where, take your ego out of that. Take it out, put it in a box, just let it go. And you can come back to it. You can put on that avatar later. But yeah, so that it's, yes.
Yeah, they hear a lot of things. So I do monthly calls with Amanda's sales leaders, and we got one next week, Tuesday. And I'll say something, and she gets all these. She shows me the text, like, this was so great, and she's like, I've been saying that, but Rebecca, no one listens to their mom. They listen to their cool aunt or their cool uncle.
Yep, exactly.
And your team listens to you. I don't mean that. They listen to you. They respect you. They love you. I know that they do.
No, not at all. I don't take it like that. And that's what other leaders need to hear, is that you can't be the end all be all. It'll never survive. You will never have fresh new ideas. You have to listen to your team, whether you agree with them or not. And then you need to process it and think about it, and don't just lash out of like, that's a dumb idea. Think about it, sit in it, marinate in it, and then make a decision.
Yep. The last thing I'm going to say, because that was a beautiful quote as well, Amanda. But you were talking about, hiring people who are different than you and getting different ideas. That's creativity. Getting different ideas, creative ideas. Creativity is one of the biggest drivers of revenue. And the biggest thing that I see with stalled sales teams are people, they don't get outside help. Not that I'm their answer, I'm not. But they've just been, the same people have been at the table, the same people have been in their club. They all have the same background, and they're wondering why they can't get any new ideas. You got to get creativity in there. Different people. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. So the final thing I want to say here is I want to give you an opportunity to share. You are in, I think you said 13 states, and I know that you're hiring. So do you want to just share this right now? Because I think people, if they've made it to the end of this, watching this replay and listening to this, is really being like, Amanda's a really strong leader. Maybe I want to work with her, because great sales leadership is a competitive advantage. So can you share a little bit about who you're hiring for, or the areas you're hiring for right now?
Yeah. So currently we're really looking to hire a leader for Bismarck, North Dakota. And what's really great about that is that you link arms with me, because that's where I'm at. So we're looking to hire an amazing leader in Bismarck, North Dakota, and Billings, Montana.
Okay. So if you are listening to this and you know people who may want to be a regional manager in Billings or in Bismarck, and get mentored and coached by the great Amanda, definitely reach out to her, or you can message me, but she should be tagged on this. And I'll put your website below this as well. So Amanda, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and talking and sharing these nuggets. Really, I think people should watch this and listen to this several times. There were so many good things in there. And until we see you again, talk to you later.
Yeah, Rebecca, I want to put a quick plug though. It's not just Billings and Bismarck. Like, if you find interest in this, for sure, just reach out, contact, always. There's always room for great people.
If you find a good person, you find a market for them.
Correct.
All right.